everybody, this is Brennan with Common Motor. That's common-motor.com on the internet. And today we're going to show you how to replace the ignition coil and the condenser on our project CT90 or Trail 90. So stay tuned. All right, so went ahead and removed the spine cover, the air filter box assembly, and also the brush guard, kind of crash guard here on the bike. Our next step is to take off the muffler, because the muffler is tied to the gas tank and tied to some other pieces that are all in this area that we have to remove in order to get easy access to it. So I'm gonna show you to take off the muffler because there's a few tricks to it. We have two bolts here that hold the muffler, the header pipe to the cylinder head. We have a bolt here hiding in the bottom that holds the muffler to this stud on the gas tank, and we have a bolt back here on the where the shock mounts. So all those have to come off for us to take the muffler off. I'm going to start with this rear one here, and then we'll take off these two, and then we'll take off the one in the middle last. The two nuts that hold the header pipe to the cylinder head tend to be very, very rusty sometimes. So make sure you use some penetrating oil on them and a wire brush to get off that heavy rust because they can break, or they can also back the stud out of the head. Might happen, but take your time, be patient with them. We're gonna go ahead and put a little bit of penetrating oil on them right now. They come apart. What do you know, these came right off. Who knew? Now that the muffler's off, we have access to a few things on the right side of the bike. Most importantly, we're going to be getting in behind the battery box here and getting inside the frame to access the things we need to get to. Also, we can access the two bolts on this side that hold the fuel tank on place. This is a weird special bolt stud here that holds the muffler. And there's supposed to be one there, but on our project bike, it is missing. So someone has been here before. There's also two of those on the opposite side that we went ahead and removed a little bit earlier. Let's take this off. Swing it top up and slide out. There it is. We have this tang here that fits into the slot here on the frame. Okay, I'm gonna take the battery out now. I'm gonna go ahead and unhook it. I think this battery is it's a pretty new battery in here. And with the Trail 90 batteries here, they always have this kind of split wire set up with one of them has a fuse. That's your main fuse there on the Trail 90. So there. Pull those off. Take this off. I'll take this bracket off as well here. Not all bikes have this bracket here. This is for a flasher relay that clearly is missing. Don't be surprised if your earlier bike does not have that little bracket there. I'm gonna take off this piece of the battery box here. It just has a cotter pin in it because we want to clean it up. You don't have to take it off, but in this case, I want to, just for cleaning, and also so it's easy for you guys to see with the camera. Just take that off of there. So the tank, you kind of have to wiggle it up and out. You can tilt it forward like that. Here's our fuel lines that connect down to the carburetor. Now that we've gotten all the other components out of the way, we've taken our gas tank and pulled it up out of the way and tied it. You don't have to remove the tank to do this operation, but it's a lot easier to get it peeled up out of the way because our ignition coil is right there. And it's held in place with these two bolts here. And the spark plug wire runs through the frame all the way out to the cylinder head here. So we have to snake that out, unbolt all this, and then pull the assembly down. Also, the condenser for the system is bolted to the coil bracket up here. A lot more is going to be, you'll understand a lot more when I actually get it pulled out, but understand that you have to get all the stuff removed so we can take the coil out. coil right here. 2 other wires here plugged into the system. Black wire with a white stripe. And then this green wire, which is actually going to the points. It's not a ground wire, in contrast to many other Hondas. Right there's the unit. Here is the condenser, which in this case looks like someone put a new condenser on this bike in the not too distant past. So get ready to get this out of here. Let's get out of the spark plug. Do this, take off the boot. We got our new ignition coil ready to go in. It also happens to have a new condenser on it. Which is nice about it is that the wire is nice and it's flexible and not stiff like the old one. And we're all plugged up here with our wire and condensers coming out of it. Of course, our black wire with white stripe is going to be our positive wire, and our green wire is going to connect to the points in this particular bike. I know we say green's ground, and technically, when the points touch, it's ground. So in this case, it's a green wire, and we're gonna get everything put together and routed and bolted in, and then we'll get the bike assembled. Our coil goes in like this. We have to line up the studs. There's 1, 2, just like that. So the condenser is pointing this way, and the wire pointing towards the front of the bike. That's how that goes. Put a washer on, get this nut started. There. Washer on. Nut started there. Okay, the coil is now bolted into the frame, and we can go ahead and get the spark plug wire routed and the rest of the connections hooked up. Let's slide back that boot there, get to our 2 wires here that connect to the coil. That's our black with white stripe wire, so let's go ahead and connect that one there. That's it, that's there. And then we had that green wire here that goes straight to the points, and that's this guy right here, just like that. Okay, there's that. Is that easy? Or at least say those 2 wires are the easy wires. Now we got to route the spark plug wire, and so let's show you where that spark plug wire is going to exit the frame when it gets to the engine here. See this little area here between the frame and the top of the engine where these other wires are coming out? Yeah, that's where the spark plug wire comes out, is right in here. So we're gonna try to work it through there and fish it through. Of course, these other wires are a bit stiff, but that's our spot right there. I'm gonna remove this kind of shield cover here so it's not in the way, so I just have the raw wire. I'll reinstall it once it's threaded through. And if we notice our tube here for the frame, it goes all the way through inside of the battery box here. Now I'm gonna try to be on what will be the left-hand side of the tube as far as getting the wire kind of threaded through. It's gonna come out the same spot those wires are. So I'm gonna see if I can just thread it, and if not, I'm gonna get a different technique. Getting close, I see it. There's the end of our spark plug wire right there. See that? grab it with a needle nose, and then try to fish it through the other side. There you go, just like that. All right, I'm gonna reinstall my heat shield tube here. I'm gonna use a little bit of Windex to help me, just in case it gets a little sticky, because sometimes it is. Let's get that right on there. Just another layer of thermal barrier. There's the end. Almost there. Come on. I can see it. We're going to route the wire a little bit differently than the factory does it. Now, this is my own personal preference, because I think that how the factory has it coming down and through the clip and up is kind of close to the exhaust, and it's a lot of turns on the wire. So I'm going to come up past our fuel line there, and we're going to drop the wire down this way, which keeps it away from the exhausts. And, you know, just out of the way, in my opinion. This is how I want to run it. You can do it different ways, as long as the wire is clear and clean and not has like major bends in it. You're going to be fine. Here's our spark plug boot right there. So the boot's kind of like a corkscrew, where inside of it there's actually a screw, and you got to think of the wire here as like the cork. And I'm going to be pushing on the wire, or pushing on the boot and turning, and actually threading that boot into the wire with that internal screw, and then you kind of feel when it's in all the way, and that's about there. We're gonna boot up, that's it. I like to keep that insulation there. So we kind of do that. We can see like how nice and out of the way that is, because our exhaust comes up here. An option would be to take off the little clip down here and move it to this bolt here on the intake manifold, so you can get, you know, has some retention, but again, you clear all the other things, and you're keeping it away from like the heat of the engine here, and not cooking on the fins or cooking with the exhaust. If you choose to route the wire with the boot coming down from the top of the engine and not around the bottom, you're going to see that we have some extra wire here from the spark plug, the coil out. So that's our extra slack there. So we kind of swing over here. You can see that I'm going to kind of pull it and try to figure out where the wire in the case here is running smooth and not kind of bending too much. But then you can see we start to get a little bit too much bend here on this wire. So you have to probably trim it a little bit. You know, in this case, we might trim it an inch or so to get it to route cleaner. But you can always leave it a little bit long, because inevitably when you pull off the spark plug boot, you're gonna have to trim the wire a little bit, because it happens. So airing a little bit long is okay, but just regardless, you wanna make sure the wire routing is smooth and not like kinking, doing stuff like that. We want a nice smooth transition to everything, so the wire doesn't become too strained. So we got the bike back together, our coil installed, a condenser installed, and of course our spark plug wire routed to our spark plug with a fresh boot. I have chosen to route the boot coming down from the top. We mentioned that a little bit earlier in the video, but you can take a closer look here and see how that keeps the spark plug wire and boot away from the exhaust as compared to the original routing that Honda did from the factory. Now, the ignition coil is one of the more failure-prone electrical parts in the bike, so having a new coil in there, especially if you're having starting troubles or weak spark, is going to be a must for your bike. And as you see, you might as well change the condenser while you're at it, since it's such a task to get to, and all the pieces that have to come off in order for you just to be able to access and remove the coil. With that, this is Brendan with Common Motor, common-motor.com on the internet. Make sure you follow us on social media. That means Instagram and Facebook. Subscribe to our newsletter via our website, and of course, subscribe to this YouTube channel down below. Ring the bell for notifications, and we'll see you next time.